You mentioned like relationships and networking there. Is there a process that you went through to get good at creating and maintaining those relationships once you moved to the US?
I've always been pretty good at networking and relationships, but my one goal was like I had one contact who knew an agent, and that agent was in LA. The agent was happy to take a meeting with me, and I went in there and I like sold myself as like, here's all the shows that I've worked on in Australia. Here's what I want to do in the US. I want to host. I want to produce. I want to build a company. And for whatever crazy reason, they decided they believed me and they signed me up. And so this agency signed me up for like a 12-month or a 2-year contract, and that allowed me to stay in the US, but also they actually were my sort of conduit to starting to meet people in the industry. And it wasn't that they put me on shows or sold me into shows straight away, but at the time, I got to meet people at HGTV, at Food Network, at CNN, at Travel Channel, at Discovery. And it was, instead of me just, knocking on doors, it was like, a nice intro, like, hey, I'd love you to meet Wes Denning. He's just moved to New York. He's an Australian producer and talent, and then I started using those entry points. And I also got to meet production companies that are still around today, who obviously are what I do now. They sell and produce shows to networks, but I got to meet the production community in New York City too.
It's a great reminder that out of all of these amazing shows or different businesses and things that are getting around, there are people out there who make these decisions. So if you can get to the people, I feel like so many people, they're worried about, they're so focused on what can I do to have the best cold approach.
Yep.
But you and I, we're so focused on let's create the relationships that lead to a warm approach where everything else opens up from there.
So true. Like in the media industry, people are always like, how do I get an agent? I need to get an agent. And I love agents. Like my agents are some of my best friends here in the US. People think they'll get an agent and I'm going to sell a show. I'll pitch it to my agent. Agent's going to send it to the network. Oh my God, we're going to make millions of dollars. But the reality is the agent's a very important part of the industry here in the US in film and television and literature as well. But it still comes down to the product. It always does. And the relationship. So like you have to have a great idea. You have to have a great world that you're pitching instead of, it's not just having a contact at an agency that's going to get you that next big show.